Skyhawk 7774 Juliet Langley Regional Tower, winds 233 at Niner Runway 7, cleared for takeoff departure to Trinity.
Delta 2259er pushback and engine start approved. Report when ready for taxi. Skyhawk 3 Alpha Zulu cleared to land runway 35, winds 273 at 16. 570 Salt Lake Center. I'm not seeing your transponder. Confirm squawking 1742 mode C. Ident one more time for me. 570. Welcome to Glacier. Contact ground on 121.6.
Piper 555, November Sierra, New York approach. Good evening, Farmingdale, altimeter 2974. Citation 972 Mike Kilo, Rio ground taxi to holding point runway 20 left via Bravo, hold short of runway. Information Kilo is current. Report when ready for departure. Delta 2259er, contact tower on 118.9er when ready for departure.
Golf Mike Mike. After departure, climb and maintain altitude 3,000 turn left, heading 270 degrees.
2EJ 9er 5. Charlie, climb and maintain flight level 150, squawk 5224. Delta 2259er, contact Varna approach on 124.6. Allegiant Air 396 cleared to Cincinnati via the ended one departure, then as filed. Maintain 4000, expect flight level 36010 minutes after departure. Departure on 125.3, squawk 4523. Expect runway 18 for departure.
Papa Tango Delta Romeo, Whisky Torre de Jacarepaguá, ventos calmos, pista 3 liberado para decolar.
American 35, taxi to runway 10 right, via Tango November Tango, Quebec Juliet. Contact tower on 119.3 when ready for departure.
Hey guys, how you doing? Give me a thumbs up or something. Let me know you hear me. I'm a better AI programmer than I am a streamer or content creator. So appreciate all the patience as you deal with my amazing production skills here. It's wonderful to be here again. Thursdays are fun and scary to me. Thursday comes up and I'm like, oh man, time to check in and start wondering if we've made any progress or done any work. And then I look at the list and realize just how much we've gotten done. So thank you everybody for jumping in and joining us on these. These are very motivating to me to, just have a chance to talk about what we're doing, listening to me ramble for a minute. I deeply appreciate that. Let's dive in. Yeah. Hey everybody. Give me just 1 second here. Here we go. First slide. And we always like to talk about, what's new. So a couple updates for you since last week. First of all, I really think we finally got all of our mic hardware issues resolved, malware blocking issues resolved, et cetera, et cetera. As of 2.6.06, which is the current version, feeling really, really good about this. Are all the mic issues gone? No. But what we're finding now is that the mic issues are the usual stuff, the stuff you would normally expect to see from any app that has to access the mic. Oh, you had the wrong device selected. Oh, it's whatever, the usual issues. So we're no longer having, I think, more mic problems than any other app that has to deal with a mic, which is very, very good news. If you're not on 2.6.06, I would get there as quick as you can. There's lots of really nice fixes in there that massively improve the speech recognition and some other things that are in there. Secondly, as of 2.6.05, we now have a functioning auto updater again. It's funny, Click Once which is what we were using for the previous installer. When you would go to install SayIntentions, we were using a technology called Microsoft Click Once, which is terrible in every single category except the auto updater. It was quite good at the auto update stuff, but no good at anything else. Now we're using another program called Advanced Installer, which is quite good in every other category, but not so good in the auto update side. So we'll figure it out. We've got a few ideas for improving it even more, but at least now we're back in a mode where you're going to get notifications when there's an update available, and your system will automatically perform those updates, et cetera, et cetera. So yay! Glad we're finally back to that point. And now it's funny, the number of support emails that we've received as it relates to our installer has gone basically to zero now that we're not using ClickOnce anymore. So always good. Lots of new IFR arrivals fixes, significant progress on a new feature that we want to add, which is full support for runway transitions. And I think we'll have runway transitions fully implemented before the weekend. We'll test it over the weekend, and then we'll deploy it to everybody on Monday. The great thing about the support for runway transitions is that this is going to significantly reduce the need for vectoring because the runway transitions will actually bring you right in on the approach path. In other words, the number of perfect IFR approaches right now is around 70-80%. The number that are quote-unquote good enough is around 90%, but we expect both of those numbers to go up significantly once we have runway transitions implemented. So I'm pretty excited about getting that one done. More adjustments have been made to the top of descent calculations. We talked about this a little bit last week. Now I actually believe that our top of descent calculations are about as good as possible while we're still modeling the way real-world ATC works. What do I mean by that? Well, in the flight sim world, and I mentioned this in last week's Vectors to Final, we talked about this, but in the flight sim world, we've gotten so used to this idea that the ATC program that we're running can actually see inside of our FMC to look at where the top of descent has been calculated, and then the built-in ATC just uses that number to tell you when it's time to descend. So as flight sim captains, we've all gotten used to this idea that ATC knows the precise moment when top of descent is calculated, and it tells you to descend at that moment. Unfortunately, that's actually not how it works in the real world. And while, yes, we could reach into your FMC and grab that data and do the same thing that all these other programs are doing, that's not us. We're better than that. What we want to do here is model the real world. We want to model the way actual air traffic control works, and we want to make sure that air traffic control doesn't have visibility into any decision-making variables that real-world ATC can't see. Therefore, we don't let the AI ATC see your calculated top of descent because a real-world controller can't see your calculated top of descent. By the way, I've had this confirmed by now multiple airline captains as well as 2 different ARTCC controllers who have all confirmed that no, they don't know when top of descent really is. They can kind of go by feel. They have a general idea, but basically they will give you their version of where they believe top of descent is, but it's up to the pilot to request something different or something sooner if the pilot wants something sooner. They basically say, look, as long as it's an aircraft that we're used to that's coming into the airport, we generally roughly know where they want to start descending. But as soon as it's kind of a different type of aircraft, they're like, we have no idea. So we ballpark it. So we actually nicely model this now. I think our top of descent calculations are pretty darn close to right for the majority of aircraft types. But as soon as you come in with something other than, an A320, a 737, et cetera, it could be off by a little bit. So how does it work in the real world? If we're off, call for it when you think it's time. It's really that simple. Really cool, nicely modeled, perfectly matches the way it's done in the real world. And I'm really, really excited that I feel like we're starting to get this one dialed into a very realistic place right now. Very, very awesome. Many notable bug fixes, ATIS distance fixes. For those who've experienced that, you know what I'm talking about. There have been some bugs about tour guide being confused about the current location of the aircraft. You'll start a tour in Germany and be told that the Grand Canyon is on your left. Those are now fixed. Stacked communications where you hear, one comm after another when they could really be combined. Most of that is fixed. a whole pile of things that we've accomplished this week to make the quality of life a little bit better for our pilots. And everything you see on here is basically in that category, which I'm very excited about. So lots of new stuff this week. I, as you know, now like to talk about our feedback. I may start doing this once a month because the data doesn't change that much from week to week, but from month to month it does. So this may be something that I do, like I said, monthly now instead of weekly. But over the last 7 days, IFR flights are now being scored an average of 7.9 out of 10. That puts us up 2% from where we were 7 days ago. Yay! And VFR flights, 7.86. Believe it or not, that is precisely what it was 7 days ago. I'm a little surprised on this one because we pushed out a couple of really important VFR fixes. But we'll continue to try to get better. That's just it. And SayIntentions overall score, 4.6 out of 5. No change there. That's actually the exact same number that it was last week. And again, this is one of the reasons I think starting to shift to reporting these numbers monthly might make more sense. But just know that when you click, rate this flight, I pay very close attention to those. And I've had people ask what happens when they click that button. The first thing is it takes your scores that you give us and it drops them into like a spreadsheet so that I can do the math for things like this and just know that we're getting better or getting worse. But secondly, it actually attaches for me. It creates basically a flight survey for me. And I can go through those, and if there's a flight that had a particularly low score, really anything less than a 10 in my opinion, I want to know about, I can click that flight, and I can actually go in and see all of the communications that you had with ATC, as well as like a full, you can think of it almost like a debug dump that I can pull, where I can see, what was behind all of the decisions that got made, in that flight. So I can actually debug a flight issue just by the fact that you took a second to rate it, which is very cool.
Hey, Brian, it looks like the slides are getting cut off a little bit on the bottom of the live stream.
Oh, yeah, they are. Thanks, man. Hang on, didn't even notice that. You're right. Let's fix that. Thanks, Ryan. Let's see. Oh, I've just got the thing too big. Hang on. Remember when I said that I'm a better AI programmer than I am a presenter / streamer / content guy? Here we go. Hey, look, there's our logo and everything. All right. Thanks, Ryan. Anyway, the point is when you rate a flight, it gives me all kinds of interesting data about that flight where I can go in and sort of start looking for the issues. Vincent, you were asking a question here where you said, what's the ratio between IFR and VFR flights on SayIntentions? This is actually really cool because to the best of my knowledge, we are the only ATC program out there that actually supports VFR. Reason for that? VFR is really, really, really hard to do in a menu-based system, right? In any system that's on Rails, VFR will fall apart instantly. And so, everybody thinks IFR is more complex, and that might be true from the perspective of the pilot, but from the perspective of air traffic control, VFR is far more, I want to say difficult to manage because it's so unknown, right? VFR flights they're the Wild West out there. It's just, you never know what the pilot is going to want to do. So, but I love this number because I think it demonstrates just how good our stuff is. We still have a lot of work to do with VFR in Europe. No question about that. It is not perfect. It's in many cases nowhere close to correct. Europe has a very different way of doing VFR from the United States. And in fact, each country in Europe has their own way of doing VFR. And this is another reason why VFR is much harder than IFR, because in the IFR world, the differences between countries are fairly subtle. They're just little things. In the VFR world, they're completely different systems, almost not recognizable in terms of the rules and things like that. But to answer your question, Vincent, we do about 40% of the flights on SayIntentions are VFR and about 60% are IFR. So we have a significant amount of VFR traffic on our network, and it's something I'm very proud of because, again, to the best of my knowledge, we are the only ATC system out there that can do VFR. Yeah, I did a VFR flight in Europe last night. Did not go well. Yep. We got a lot of work to do there. And we will circle back on that. We will get it improved. But, man, they have Europe and the U.S. are very different. And, again, each country in Europe has their own system. So it's not like I can just say, oh, we have VFR in Europe now, it's done. No, we have VFR in the UK. We have VFR in Germany. We have VFR in France. Each one is its own independent project. So we'll get there. Very excited about it. But, yeah, it's definitely got some challenges in Europe right now. We'll get it. Nothing we can't overcome, nothing that scares me, nothing that keeps me awake at night. It's just a function of, priorities. And it's bubbling up to the top here. So very happy about that. Excited. All right, let's move on here. What are we working on now? Well, time now is being spent on some early traffic injection proof of concepts. Guys, this is an enormous project. And I mentioned last week, but the approach that we're going to take for this is very unique. It's probably not something that any of you guys are thinking about or have considered, but we're trying to make sure that we minimize impact on frame rates and performance on the PC. We're trying to make sure that everything feels real and correct. We're trying to make sure that it's highly immersive, and we're trying to make sure that we do it in a way where the costs are maintained in a way where we don't have to raise the prices as a result of all the new voice generation and things like that have to take place. Once you fill a world with traffic, the cost to support that world goes up nearly exponentially. So we're doing some creative things to make sure that we get this right. It'll be interesting to see, as many different ATC solutions move forward on this, how those costs will be contained for them as well. Again, cost to generate voices. If you fill the airplane with 100 airplanes and they're all talking nonstop to ATC, that's going to get real expensive real fast. Again, we've got some really, really unique solutions to this that I'm very excited about. Stay tuned is the answer to that. But yeah, this is an enormous project. We have people come in all the time and say, when will it be done? The answer is, I don't know. I would not expect to see anything significant until later this year. That's probably the best that I'll give you. Byte Fighter, is IFR flight in Europe much different from the U.S.? No. There's subtle differences between IFR in the U.S. and IFR in Europe. Slight phraseology changes, slight changes to the way handoffs work. They're very small. We do honor those. But yeah, the differences are small enough that it's just, some small exceptions here and there. It's really not a big deal. So, what else? Runway Transitions, I talked about. Very excited about this. It's going to massively increase the odds of, finishing that IFR flight with significant success. Dynamic departures, we talked about before. Still trying to get some of this other stuff out of the way. So, stay tuned there. Bug fixes, always working on bug fixes. For those of you who are not familiar with software development, I'll give you the dirty secret about how it works. It's always 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So, people will come in and say, this is so weird, it used to work and now it doesn't. What the heck happened? And the answer is, we took 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So every time you implement 2 new features, there's a good chance you broke 1 feature. The good news is that over the long term, the math actually does work out, right? As long as we keep doing 2 steps forward, 1 step back, we're making forward progress. But yeah, sometimes it's a very frustrating process for both developers and end users to sort out and fix bugs, especially with the rapid pace of development that we have. So there'll always be bugs. There'll always be fixes for those bugs. It's for us, it's a question of making sure that we're responding in a way that's fast, efficient, and are we being responsive to that? And I like to think that we're doing really well with that. We're also working on bringing all of our new crowd voices to life. If you missed last Thursday's Vectors to Final, we talked about how you can now donate your voice to act as the seed to an AI training. Doesn't necessarily mean your voice will sound like your voice when we're done, because we do some curation with it to make it sound like an air traffic controller. But we have now hundreds of donated voices, which means we're right on the cusp of really blowing out, the number of voices that we have available. So super, super, super excited about that. Brian says, is issue resolution best for you via Discord or ticket email? We prefer Discord to emails. I have a much more sort of unified view of the situation if they're reported in Discord, and I prefer to keep the load on our email responses light. So yeah, if you're not sure where to report them, strong preference towards Discord for those kinds of things. So yeah. TaxiTuner V3 is in progress. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. In fact, maybe right after this. What's coming later? This is the same slide week after week because this is the long-term stuff we're looking at and working on. Terrain awareness, NOTAM awareness, 2024 scenarios, traffic aware, and we've talked about all the traffic stuff. All coming, all the part of the long-term roadmap. Don't be disappointed this slide doesn't change every week. If it did, it would mean we were very disorganized. So the fact that it's kind of locked in is a good thing. It means we're fixated on a vision and a direction. Two more things before we wrap up. The first one is, and you guys already know this if you're following Vectors to Final every Thursday, and that is TaxiTuner V3 is here. You can now create with TaxiTuner V3 points at airports and give them names. So things like FBO, signature, de-icing pad, the FedEx ramp, et cetera, et cetera. You'll be able to name any point at an airport and then request taxi between any 2 points. So, hey, I just exited the runway. I'd like to taxi to signature. That will be supported now as long as somebody's gone in and sort of added the different points on the airport maps. Very cool. It's very easy to use. We can now assign airlines to gates. So if you're on a United flight and you land in Denver, you're going to get told to go to a gate that matches United. Traffic-aware gate assignments. This may not be done till mid-next week. In other words, we may not have this until just a little bit after we launch this thing. But you will not be told to taxi to a gate that already has an airplane at it. Yay! That'll be really cool. So you'll be pulling up to a gate that's empty and ready for you. Also, automated gate assignments outside the U.S. So, by the way, this is an area where somebody says, is IFR different in the U.S. versus outside the U.S.? The answer is this is one of those subtle things. Inside the U.S., it's up to the pilot to request a gate. In other words, ground will say something like, where you headed to, what's your gate, et cetera. And the pilot is expected to know because they've communicated with their dispatcher what gate they're after. Outside the U.S., all of that is coordinated behind the scenes, and when the pilot lands and talks to ground knows the gate that pilot is being assigned. So we'll model that for both scenarios. So inside the U.S., it's up to the pilot. Outside the U.S., ATC and the dispatcher coordinate that for you on the back end, and you'll be told which gate to taxi to. But again, it'll all be traffic aware, and it'll all match the airline assignments to those gates. You'll also be able with TaxiTuner V3 to add VFR reporting points in the vicinity of the airport, and I'm proud to say that this completes our implementation of crowdsourced ground handling for now. Obviously, we'll have minor updates and iterations and bug fixes and things like that as we move along, but the core feature set for TaxiTuner is now complete. This was our vision from the beginning. We did it, and this whole thing will launch on Monday. So starting on Monday, you'll be able to go in and start doing all of these things that are mentioned here. And for airports that have been tuned properly, you will start to get gate assignments and things like that. So how cool is this, you guys? But the real hero for TaxiTuner V3 is not me. It's never me, actually, who's the hero. It's Ryan, who I'm just now adding here to the session. Ryan's wearing the shirt. Hey.
I literally got the shirt as we were on the stream, and I told my son, hey, I'm on a meeting. He's like, okay, but here, you got this package. And it was my shirt, so
well, that's how efficient we are
on our live stream.
We literally timed the deliveries to the timing of the live stream. That's so cool that it showed up right there. Very cool. Ryan is the mastermind / brains / evil genius behind the implementation of TaxiTuner, and we could not do this without him. There's no way. Ryan is way, way, way smarter than I am. Most people are way smarter than I am. Ryan is way, way, way smarter than I am. So I am super excited that he was able to join us here so that he can show off TaxiTuner V3. You guys want to see it, I assume? Yeah? Okay. Ryan, I am giving you the stage. Go ahead.
All right. I'm going to share my screen.
I'm going to get my camera out of here. One sec. Drop me out of the picture. I'm going to make your stuff big. Okay, sir.
All right. So we got a few things going on here. And I'm actually, before I even show TaxiTuner V3, I know a big request is like, well, what airports have been taxi tuned? You know, we don't know. So we did create this page. If instead of going to your normal taxi data, you just go to airportdata.html, and it actually gives you the list of airports that we have. You can filter. You can look for Class C airports that start with K, and you can see we have a bunch of taxi-tuned Class C airports. So that's a little bonus. I didn't tell Brian that I was showing that, but I forgot that it existed until we were into the live stream. So wanted to show you that. That's good if you're trying to figure out what to tune. Back to TaxiTuner V3. I know many of you have seen this red text. This is something that we've added a few weeks ago. If you've had questions about, oh, should I be tuning this airport? If there's someone working on it, but they haven't published their changes, we at least want to show you that. That way you know, hey, there's activity going on here. And it kind of gives you their age, how long ago someone's been working on it, and what version they're on. And that version means how many edits have they made. So if you're seeing, oh, it was 20 hours ago, but they're on version 1, they're probably not doing much. But here someone is. It was actually my other account that was working on it. So like I said, this is going to be released Monday, but I do have a lot of the features working locally. And so I wanted to show you all just kind of what you can expect. So the first step, as always, is just to clone the airport. So we're going to clone this. We're going to call this Ryan Clone. And in case you don't know, you can actually add a description. I'm going to say this is going to be deleted soon because we're not really going to use that a lot. But if we go into this, we can have our normal modes, your view mode. You know, there's hotkeys. You can hit E on the keyboard to go to edit mode if it wants. Oh no, there's no edit. Select mode, move mode. But the new mode that we have is called point mode. You could also think of it as parking mode. And so in this mode, you'll be able to see parking information for this airport. And so I might need to refresh this to get this to load properly. Let's see. It does not want to load my parking points now. So this is what happens whenever you do a live demo.
Yeah, this is one of the rules of live demos is no matter what you do, even if the software was perfect, it will fail in a demo. Everybody knows that.
Oh, of course. Let's try this. Let's switch this to local. All right. So this is where I start to debug live, but the idea is that you will have actual parking points that you'll be able to see at these spots. And I'm really kind of confused as to why it's not working. But I do know one thing that I can do to kind of force it to work, I think. Give me just a few minutes. I'm going to stop sharing, and then we can swap back to that in a minute.
No pressure, Ryan.
No, this is.
You're fine, man.
This is my life. At least we can have small talk while I do
we have
this.
nice people as customers and followers here, and so they're pretty forgiving. I think
it is quite awesome. I think they are. Let's do this.
Yeah, Russell, the amount of time I do demos at work where things go wrong that worked 10 minutes before. Story of the life of any programmer that has to show a demo. Anybody that's done demos knows the second you turn on Zoom, it all falls apart.
All right, time to share my screen again. I worked some magic behind the curtain, so
You're fine. Will
Zoom.
On Air have the ability to have the dispatcher assigning it? That would be cool. Will, I'll check into that for you. That would be very cool. That's a great idea. The answer is not sure, but maybe. And yes, to the chat room, there is one more announcement coming after this one. Ryan has been busy, and he gets to show off two things today. So,
all right, so we're back sharing a screen. I switched to my admin account, and that is seeming to show taxi points, which is good. So when you clone an airport, this is one that I cloned earlier today, you will see that we now have a few different things at this airport. Let's start with the points that we can add. So there's two different types of points. Those are things like ground points. I know Brian mentioned things like a hangar or a de-icing pad. Really, in this mode, all you need to do is click somewhere on the map, and you can either add a ground point or a reporting point. So I know down in Marietta, there's actually a thing called the Big Chicken somewhere down here. So you could call that a reporting point and call it Big Chicken. It's actually a KFC that has a literal huge chicken, and it moves its eyes and its beak.
And
it's
ATC uses that as a reporting point. Report the.
I have no idea if ATC uses
funny.
that as a reporting point.
Okay, got it.
They totally should. But,
they should. That's hilarious. Yeah.
Make a left at the Big Chicken. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But you can see this has now turned blue, so we've added the Big Chicken. Likewise, let's say that this was a de-icing pad right here, which it isn't, but I'm going to add it anyways. We'll call this de-icing pad. And did I spell it right? No. But that's a ground point. I'm going to save this, and you see it turns gold for the ground points. So ATC can start using these points. If you say, hey, I need to get taxied over the de-icing pad, it now knows where it is. It can take you there. You can see that I've added some other points. This is the customs office. This is Superior Flight. Georgia State Patrol is over here. So you can add all those points. A gray point, just so you know, it means, hey, you're about to add it, but I have no idea what this is. So they won't save until you've actually given them a name. Likewise, we now have parking information, and you can see right here we have these little black pointers. These are parking spots that I've actually saved into the database. And a lot of airports have them. I bet if we go to ATL, I know this is a live demo. I'm not supposed to do things live, but if we look at this, do we have parking here? We should. So if we go to points, yes. All right. Something worked on a live demo. So that's nice. So we have all these parking spots, and actually some of the data that we've kind of preceded. And so if we pull into this, I'm expecting this to be D26. And so if we click on it, it was close. It was D28. So I guess this guy's D26. But the terminal's D26. Microsoft thinks this is a small gate. I don't know if that's really true. I would at least call it a medium, but you can see that you can change that. The nice thing is now we said we can assign airline codes. And so we were going to make this a drop down, but then we realized there's like over 1,000 airlines. So this is a type ahead. Atlanta is actually a big hub for Delta. So if I just start typing Delta, you can see that I get Delta Airlines, and I can assign that. So if I save that, even if I refresh the page, that terminal should now be assigned to Delta.
And by the way, we're also supporting shared gates as well. So if you leave the airline blank, then it's available for all airlines to use.
Exactly. And eventually we might make some tweaks so you can just filter down, I want only these airlines to go in there. But yeah, if you leave it blank, anyone can go there. But if you really just want it to be locked down to an airline, now you have that option. However, some airports might not have all the parking spots that you would like. And so we can see up here, it looks like that we have some spots that we could park. So there's this show potential parking spots checkbox. And you can see that it's actually pointing a lot of other spots on this airport where maybe you could park. And if I had our Google map, you can see that these are probably some sort of parking spots. The way that we find potential parking spots is we basically look for dead ends on the taxi path. So here, there's nowhere else for me to go. So it's a dead end. I say, hey, you can probably add a parking spot here. Here, you might think this is a dead end, but you can see it's actually just an intersection. So there's no parking spot here. If I wanted to add a parking spot, I'd have to extend this into the hangar, I guess. But it's the same, thing. You just click here, you give it a name. So we're just going to call this temp. You can optionally give it a terminal, optionally an airline, and a type. I'll just call this a small gate. And when we save this, you can see that it turns now into a black spot. It's saved in the database. All these parking spots, all these points of interest, they're all tied to your override. And so if I were to make this public, then these spots would be available if someone chose my override as their default. Again, if it's the global default, then everyone gets it if they don't have some other override selected. So if you're familiar with the current TaxiTuner setup, where you create an airport and you mark it as public and then it gets approved as default, it's going to be the same process for all your parking spots and for all your ground points of interest and VFR reporting points. They're all just kind of grouped into that.
And by the way, the cool thing about that approach, if I can just add, is that that means that, most of us run default scenery, right? And for those of us running default scenery, we can all share in a well-tuned airport, taxiways, parking spots, reporting points, right? The one that gets published for everyone to use is generally, really good around the default scenery. But if you're running custom scenery, rather than having to go, complain to the scenery developer or just, live with bad taxi instructions or anything like that, you can actually go in and adjust the way ATC views that airport for just you, for yourself, for that particular scenery. And by the way, you might create a custom airport map for your particular scenery and then publish that to everybody so that people running that particular scenery can go, oh, perfect. Somebody already made, a ground map for that airport with the same scenery that I'm using. So really, guys, Ryan's done a masterful job here at making it so that regardless of your situation, whether you're running default scenery or you have special stuff that you want to put in your own airport, or you're running a developer's custom scenery, which is just a little bit different, all of this is accommodated. And it's accommodated in a way where you can either jump in and participate and, actually build these maps, or just, mooch off the work of other people. They don't mind. They're doing this to help everybody. So we've built a wonderful community here as a result of the hard work that Ryan's put into this.
Yeah, exactly. So even though that we have Alpha Recons, he worked on this airport, literally over 2,000 updates that he made to it. So that's pretty incredible, just for Atlanta. That's our global default. He did a lot of work in it, and so that's his airport. But let's say that you made your own. Let's say, hey, I really like mine with my whopping 4 updates because it now has parking info. I can just click this my default, and now immediately, if I'm in the simulator, I'll get instructions for that version of it. And so you're not messing up other people by clicking that. That is custom to you, and it lets you kind of tweak that. And a lot of people, whenever they're taxi tuning airports, they'll set this as their own default while they're tweaking it. And then once they're ready they'll click the go public with it. But this is a great way to check that box. And now every interaction you have with ATC is going to use that information for that airport for you.
Nicely done, Ryan.
So, all right.
Yeah.
Stop sharing.
You can give him a round of applause silently through the chat room there. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate that. 1 second here. I'm going to figure out how to get Ryan out of the picture for just a minute. Okay. One more thing that we have. I am really, really excited about this because this is remember I talked about those features where, you kind of put it on paper and you're like, yeah, it looks okay. This would be interesting. And then once you actually try it, you go, okay, this is actually really, really, really cool, right? By the way, Ryan, you're getting lots of hearts and love in the chat room there. I don't know if you're paying attention, but yeah, lots of.
I'm not, but I do appreciate it.
Yeah, really. Yeah, Ryan really put an immense amount of work into this feature, and it's a game changer. Nobody else has anything like this, and I love it. But I talked about this idea of a feature where you look at it on paper, you're like, this is good. But once it's actually turned on and you experience it for the first time for yourself, you go, okay, this is a game changer. This is really cool. Here it is. The next one that fits into that category is, a demo from Ryan. No, that's not it. We call it TourTuner. You'll be able to create custom tours and then fly them with tour guide. So we'll support concepts like a low altitude tour and a high altitude tour. So in a low altitude tour, your tour might include things like, particular landmarks or, things that are really interesting from a VFR standpoint. Hey, there's this really interesting bridge. Hey, it's a really interesting statue over here that you can go, giant statue you can go see. Hey, there's a really interesting rock formation, or there's this beach and that beach. Picture you're doing Grand Canyon tours or tours around Hawaii or, any of those kinds of things. But those kinds of tours are supported, yes. But we call those low altitude tours. For high altitude tours, maybe you're on an IFR flight from, Denver to Atlanta, and what you really want on a high altitude tour is for somebody to be pointing out things like mountain ranges and rivers and cities, right? So somebody will be able to go in and you'll be able to go in and create a custom tour for an IFR route, and along that way, you'll have them calling out, various landmarks and things like that along the way. Very cool. But again, for VFR, it'll be, low altitude stuff. So you'll be able to choose a tour. You'll be able to start that tour midair. So you'll be able to say something like, hey, Janet, can you tell me if there's any tours available near I am? And she'll be able to say, yes, there's these tours available. And you'll be able to say, hey, let's do the Grand Canyon tour. All right, fly this heading, this distance. And as you hit each waypoint, she'll talk about each of those. If you've created a really cool tour, you'll be able to share that with everyone. So just like we've crowdsourced the taxi tuning, just like we've crowdsourced voices, we're now crowdsourcing really cool tours. Every tour is different. I was messing with this last night as I was doing my testing, and I did the same tour, 9 different times. And I got to tell you guys, the AI, every single time I did the tour, it was different. I got different information. I got different features. I got a different thing each time. It was so cool. And of course, as you change the tour guide themselves, the experience changes as well. You can start creating tours now, and this will be ready for testing starting tomorrow, and we'll launch it officially on Monday. So 2 big things coming on Monday. But this one is really fun. Really, really, really fun. And so what I'm hoping is that you guys will go in, create a whole bunch of tours, pick your hometown and put all the cool stops around your hometown or your home area into the tour guide, into a tour, and then other people can come along and take your tour of the hometown. This is so, so, so cool. All right, Ryan, back to you, buddy. You want to show this off? It's I'm actually.
Yeah, should I do another demo?
Yeah, let's do another one.
I like it. All right, let me share my screen again. So if you go to portal.sayintentions.ai/portal/TourTuner, go figure, you will get this page.
Yeah, so just to be clear, log into Pilot Portal, and then on the left-hand side, there's a new button there called TourTuner. It's in the middle there.
Yep,
there you go.
Right there.
Right there. You click that button, it'll take you to this page. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
No, you're good. So really just some good instructions here that I haven't fully read, but I'm sure that they are awesome. But if we launch TourTuner, you get your familiar map of the world, or here it's North America. So a few things that we can do. First of all, we can list what tours are available. Here's some that we've actually really just been testing with, and you can see we got some.
Grab that Wasatch Front tour. That's the one I did last night.
Yes. All right. So,
or one that you did. You did one of your hometown too, I think, right?
I did, but this one's good. I like this one as well. So you can load this tour, see what it's like, zoom in, and really kind of see what all the points are. And you can see that there's this yellow arrow that kind of just follows along on all the points, and we can really see. Just the names of them. There's an optional description, but let's actually just make a tour together, since that's what most of us will be doing. So I'm going to close this tour, and I'm just going to create a new one, and we're going to call this a live demo tour. So there's different tour types. There's high altitude. If you're doing like an IFR flight and you just want to see like, hey, here's the Grand Canyon. Now we're going to go see some mountain range, really just high level things. You would do a high tour. and you can add a description. I don't really like flying like that. I like flying low to the ground so I can crash sooner, I guess. I don't know. But I would do a low tour, and that's more of a bush flight. Hey, here's this building. Here's this stadium. Here's this creek. Or a dam or whatnot. So we can save this tour, and we are now in tour editing mode. And so let's say we wanted to start over here. Where's a good airport we can hit?
Yeah, so go pick an area you're familiar with, right?
Yeah. No, the sectional doesn't want to load. We got all these maps that you can use. There we go. So we'll go to my house. And we'll go.
Yeah, Ryan, right here on the live stream, zoom right in on your house so everybody.
I will. I'm right between this area, but I like flying out of Cartersville. I actually have a radio scanner and I can pick up traffic from there. So we're going to start over at Kilo Victor Papa Charlie, and there's this detection range circle. So what this does is your tour guide will not really start talking about this point until you're within the detection range. So if it's like the Grand Canyon, you're going to want to crank up that detection range to 100 miles. But if it's something a bit smaller, you probably want to have it cranked down. So maybe for an airport, 15 miles might be good, 10 miles. But for smaller features, you probably want to dial that in. That's when, if you're on this tour, ATC is going to say, now you'll see that we're approaching, whatever. You can add a description if you want.
And let me talk about that description, by the way.
Go for it.
Ryan doesn't know this. The description I have used in a creative way, which is awesome. These are actual instructions to the AI about what you want the AI to talk about. So you might highlight an airport and say, be sure to mention, like you might highlight the Denver airport and then say, be sure to mention, the cult following around, the conspiracy theories about the Denver airport. I really want to make sure you mention that thing because maybe you're doing a paranormal tour, right? And you're showing all these cool, sites in a particular city that do that. So you can, prompt the AI to include or not talk about certain information about a particular landmark by using the description field. It's really neat.
Awesome. I have yet to actually fly one of these tours. So I'm really excited to be able to actually do it eventually.
It's really cool. I was having a blast with it last night. Yeah.
Awesome. So here's our first point, and all we need to do is let's add another point. Let's say, here's Lake Lanier.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Actually, there's a whole documentary of why this place is haunted. This lake is apparently.
Just mention the fact that this lake is haunted and include a little bit of the backstory, and it totally will. Like it knows.
I'm not gonna say die. I'm gonna disappear here all the time, and I wish I could spell, but all right. So that's a good detection range like that. Now let's say that I wanted to do another stop. Here's Allatoona. I've actually done some fishing here. So the Allatoona Lake, this is a great place to fish. However, I don't really like that I'm flying them out over to Lake Lanier just to come back to Allatoona. So this is where this previous stop comes into handy. I can just switch this, and whenever it saves, you'll see that now our lines have been updated. So if you want to go add a tour stop somewhere in there, you can add it wherever you are. I'll just add another one here. We'll just call this a test, and I can say, hey, start this from the airport. And now whenever that's saved, you can see it auto routes for you. If I don't like this, I can delete it. It says you want to delete. Yes, I do. And you'll see that it recalculates the path based on what it was supposed to be. Once you're done, you feel good with this tour, click the publish tour button. That's what will make this tour live. When you do that, you can see that it's published because it says now published. You can click to unpublish it. I know this UI isn't the cleanest, but it did get the job done, and I'm excited to see people create some tours and try them out.
Yeah. So a couple of things. I want to answer some of the questions in the chat room here. First of all, someone said, well, if I leave the description blank, does that mean the tour is going to be less detailed? The answer is no. The AI already knows a tremendous amount of information about each of these sites, and all you have to do is tell it like the name of the site and where it is, which we do, and it will fill in the blanks. And so you'll still get a really nice tour, even if you leave every description field blank. Another question about, well, gosh, if I'm not doing a tour, but I am flying with tour guide enabled, will it still point out those same sites? And the answer is yes. Those will get pulled into the sort of random pool of things that it can talk about. So yeah, if you add points, those might be part of things that the normal tour guide will point out, even if you're not doing a tour. Another question, will the AI find information on its own, or do you have to input the information? The AI will find information on its own. You don't have to enter anything. You don't have to tell it anything. It will figure it out. It's amazing. I think, did I get everything? I think I got everything. So, yeah, you'll be able to come in here. I mean, this is going to be so cool for our bush flyers and really everybody. I really believe that every single person is going to get use out of this. Our IFR pilots are going to love this. Our normal VFR flyers are going to love this. Our bush pilots are going to love this. This has something for everyone. And I got to tell you, it's so easy to create one that I will be so sad if there aren't like 1,000 tours in our system within the next 2 weeks, because it's so, you can create one so fast and easy. So I'm hoping that people do things like go create like really insightful tour of the Grand Canyon, or, an interesting tour around Maui, or, things like this where, if you're an expert on an area, pull it up, set up the tour, show us the interesting stops, and fill in as much or as little of the information as you want, and the AI will take it from there. And this is so cool. So again, a huge round of applause for Ryan for building us a wonderful tool that I think everybody's going to get tremendous use out of. Way, way, way excited about this. All right, Ryan, let me make your little. Well, I got the wrong window here. Your little window smaller here. If there are any questions about any of these things, hang on, sorry, I'm sort of dragging
Discord.
this around.
Go to Discord.
Yeah, jump into our Discord. We're happy to chat, answer questions, everything you guys want. Look at all the love you're getting in the chat room, Ryan. People are very excited about this. Really, this is another area where we're breaking new ground here. Nobody's done anything like this for Flight Simulator, because none of this is scripted or canned. And again, you might create like the coolest tour of the Grand Canyon, and then go fly it with Janet, and then fly it with Sarah, and fly it with Jeff, and you're going to get a completely different feel or completely different set of information each time. So this is truly dynamic. But to take it a step further, not only do you get sort of the stops and everything, but you could, as with all of the tour guide functionality, you'll be able to ask questions along the way. So you'll get the pitch, hey, you're looking at this, and a little history of it, and then you can ask questions and follow up, and hey, tell me more about this topic, et cetera, et cetera. So this is game changing. Nobody's doing anything like this. Super excited, guys. Get in there, create your tours, and you'll be able to start flying with this by tomorrow. Yeah. So it's in the portal. Log into the pilot portal. There's a button on the left-hand side that says TourTuner. Go nuts. All right. Oh, okay. So Scott says, explain how to start flying a specific tour. Is it chosen via the SI client? No, actually. So again, we try to minimize mouse clicks. We don't want menus. We don't want things you have to click on. What you do is you take off, get established, get in the air, and then ask the tour guide, hey, are there any tours available for me? And they'll tell you what's around you that's been created. For example, I took off from Salt Lake Airport yesterday, and I was flying around, and I said, hey, are there tours available? And it says, yeah, there's a Wasatch Front tour that you can take. I said, great, let's do the Wasatch Front tour. And the response was, great, turn to a heading of 255. The first stop is about 8 miles out, and then as you hit each point, the tour guide will say, all right, our next stop is this heading, this distance. The next stop is this heading, this distance. So it'll guide you through the tour. But in the app, it will actually show you the heading and distance to your next waypoint. So if you get a little lost, you can always just look down and go, oh, there we go. I just fly that heading to that waypoint, and it'll kick in. Super cool, super simple. Just ask the tour guide for tours. You'll get them. Tell it what tour you want. It'll start. It's really simple. Very excited about this. All right. Thank you, everybody, for another wonderful Thursday. event tuner for flight events. That's an interesting idea, Kip. We'll have to talk through this. I like that idea. Again, thanks everybody, and a huge thank you to Ryan for the incredible work that he put into this. By the way, next week, I'm going to tease this now for Vectors to Final. We'll be doing something really fun. I want you guys to meet the team. You've heard me talk. You've met Ryan on the live stream. But we've got other team members. We've got a whole admin team and a whole moderator team full of people who put in a huge amount of work to make this project a reality. And I want you guys to meet them too. So next week's Vectors to Final will be focused on meet the team. I want you guys to have a chance to interact and meet everybody who works behind the scenes here, sometimes in front of the scenes, in all directions, to make this thing real. This is a tremendous effort that this takes to make this project real. And again, thank you to our community for being so wonderful. Thank you to you guys for making sure that our Discord is the best in the entire industry in terms of being welcome and friendly and helpful. If you're scared of Discord because you've been in other rooms where people were not so nice, that is not the experience you'll have in our Discord, I promise you. Come join us, all right? Mark says, is there a way to get the list of the taxi-tuned airport? It wasn't clear. Ryan, maybe we can take that list that you did and put it, like link it directly inside the pilot portal or something? Or maybe tell people how to get to it really quick?
Yeah. Let's link it in the pilot portal. I think that'll make it easy. And then we can also link it in TaxiTuner.
Cool.
Because it's not really documented too well, and that's kind of why I just snuck it in the live stream. But
it's not meant.
We can make it pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's not meant to be secret. I think we've got well over 1,000 airports now that are published.
Yes.
And so the odds are that your favorite airport is in there. It's really that simple. In fact, it's been a long time since I've been at an airport that was not taxi-tuned. So
it's funny because whenever I'm testing, I'm like, oh, well, I want to find one that's blank to test a certain use case with no overrides, and they're hard to find.
Right. And one really, really cool feature that I want to mention about all of this, because I want to make this very clear, when when an airport is taxi-tuned and ready for people to start using, when a new tour is created and needs to be available, guys, you don't have to download anything. You don't have to update your software. There's nothing to install. All of this happens on the cloud side, right? All of this is available to you through your subscription to our cloud infrastructure. You don't have to constantly update the app. You don't have to download airports. You don't have to download tours. All of this is automatic, right? So cool.
We have 1,060 airports that have a approved global default.
1,060, 1060. Guys, that's amazing, because we're bordering on having every controlled airport in the world. We're getting there. So yay. Thank you to everybody who participates in, and is willing to publish and share their work with everybody else, by the way. That's part of what makes this community amazing. All right, everybody. Thank you. And we will see you next Thursday with the entire team.
Good night.